speaker, Dr. Eddie Connor Jr.
Please welcome Dr. Eddie.
Eddie Connor has become a much in-demand motivational speaker.
Because when you speak to me, I can speak to the mountain and it
Television, radio, college campuses, and with faith.
use what you have to be empowered and to be inspired.
Local author Eddie Connor's message to overcome obstacles and believe in yourself is something we all can associate with. And he's constantly giving back to the community.
I am joined now by local Detroit author Dr. Eddie Connor Jr.
The tragedy is to be gifted, but to never open the package.
Once I'm broken, that's when my anointing is getting ready to come out. That's when my gift is getting ready to flow.
What's up? What's going on, y'all? How you doing? How you living? How's it going? What's happening is yours truly, Dr. Eddie. And I know it's not Wednesday. You're saying, well, it ain't even Wednesday yet. It's just a Monday and you on live? I sure am. I am doing something called In the Mix at 6, empowering you to soar at 6. We've been having such a great time on Wednesdays. I said, listen, let's just exponentially increase it. Let's make it happen. Let's do it. And let's go live every day. We're going live every single day, right at 6 o'clock p.m. So I want you to join me. I want you to tell a friend to tell a friend. I want you to like. I want you to comment. I want you to share. I want you to subscribe. We're going to kick it for a little bit. And don't worry. I'll be here on Wednesday too. I'll be here every day, just giving you some wisdom, some inspiration, some insight, just really to grow who it is that you are, and just to take everything that you do to another level. All right, so let's do that. Let's like, let's comment, let's share, let's subscribe. For those of you who are watching me on Facebook, I am on the YouTube side. I want you to make sure that you join me on YouTube. Yeah. Join me on YouTube. Follow me on YouTube. Subscribe to me on YouTube. At EddieConnorJr, youtube.com/Eddie Connor. Let's connect there. I'm trying to get my IG together. I don't know what's going on with my Instagram. I don't know what's going on with IG right now. We're trying to do a little dual connectivity here. But either way, join me on the YouTube side. YouTube don't fail. No matter whatever is going on with Instagram, no matter whatever's going on with Facebook and all these other technology platforms, YouTube doesn't fail. So that's, maybe this is just going to be maybe I'm just going to shut down all my other platforms and just go straight to YouTube. Maybe that's what it's going to be. Either way, I want to give you some insight tonight. I hope you're having a great day. Hope your week has started great. Hope things are looking up without a doubt, and things are going well your way, and your year has started in a good way. Hopefully your year is off to a great start, and you are making it happen. You are making some moves in your life. I want to talk tonight about really triumphing from trauma. I want to talk about from trauma to triumph. Trauma to triumph tonight. That's what I want to do. I want to talk about trauma to triumph tonight, and just give you some insight and some inspiration on and really stretch your reflection, your imagination, because oftentimes we go through a myriad of things and we don't heal from them. And hurting people hurt people, but heal people heal people. And trauma is something that we got to come face to face with. Trauma is something that we have to be in a steady fight with oftentimes, because this is something that I've said and that I will continue to say. And that is, somebody is waiting for you to become who you are so they can become who they're supposed to be. Here's the question. How much longer will you make them wait? And oftentimes people are on pause because our purpose is on pause. Our connectivity, our empowerment, who it is that we are as an individual. We put all that purpose on pause simply because we have not looked at the man or the woman in the mirror. I'm kind of young to know this particular song. But it's a song by the rock band called The Who. Song came out well before I was thought of in the late 70s. But the song said, the lyrics said, "Who are you?" And they repeated it, who. Don't get me to sing it tonight. It's not gonna happen. I ain't. let me drink a little water for my vocals. I didn't warm up my vocals tonight. I didn't have any green tea. I didn't have any, lemon tea or with honey and all that stuff. So I didn't warm up my vocals to where I can go baritone and tenor on you tonight. But the song said, "Who are you? Who?" Right? And still to this day, many people ask the same question when they look at the man or the woman in the mirror. And oftentimes the question comes from a place of comparison. A lot of times when we're looking in the mirror, is not necessarily how we appear particularly, but oftentimes it's from that place of comparison. It's from a place of competition rather than completion of purpose. Hear me. You always fail trying to compare yourself to other people. You'll always do it. Can you? Yeah, you rocking with me. There it is. You always fail when you try to move into a place of comparison, because you'll always be a liability if you live your life trying to impress everybody. Let me hit the ring bell. Let me hit the ring bell on that tonight. You will always be a liability if you live your life trying to impress everybody. I'm going to give you some tangible things that you can take away from tonight. But I sincerely believe that if you don't develop, you won't be involved. The development is about oneself. The development is about really understanding and really coming into clear consciousness about your particular identity. And when you think about that word identity, because a lot of times our identity has been fractured, our identity seems to have faltered simply because we have a warped sense of who we are because we're looking at life through a lens of trauma. Let me say that again. Oftentimes we have a warped sense of self. We have a warped identity. We have a warped self-concept of who we are because we look at life through the lens of trauma. We look at life through who dropped us. We look at life through the relationships that may have failed. We look at life through the divorce that may have taken place. We look at life through who was not there for us. We look at life through who promised us certain things and who did not come through. We look at life through the hurt that we have experienced, but we don't look at life through the place of healing. And you will always put your purpose on pause when trauma becomes the trumpet of your life. Yeah. And one thing that we have to understand, identity is really defined as a condition. It's defined as a character. It is about who a particular person is, what a thing is. It's the qualities, it's the beliefs that distinguish and identify, or in many cases, distinguish you, right? It separates you and who it is that you are from everybody else. Too many people are trying to fit in when here it is, you were created and you were born to stand out. That's one thing we got to realize. And if your identity, I need you to understand this tonight, if your identity doesn't have adaptability, then your gifts will atrophy. Let me say this again. If your identity does not have adaptability, then your gifts will atrophy. In order to discover the essence of your identity, here's what you got to do. You got to identify who you are, but you also have to identify whose you are. It's imperative. It's pertinent. It's important to know both, because a lot of times we are living our life through the mother wounds. We're living our life through the father wounds. And rather than rediscovering who it is that we are, Rather than attracting what is different, we attract the same because we reflect the hurt that we have experienced. And now it becomes emblematic and symbolic of the life that we live. When you think about identity, a lot of times we quantify, we clarify, we really find some credulity and clarity about who it is that we are, and we base our self-worth on what it is that we do. Generally, if I was to ask somebody, just tell me a little bit about yourself. When I ask, you ask people, tell me a little about yourself. Generally, most people will lead with what they do. Well, I'm a doctor, I'm a professor, I'm a teacher, uh, I'm a nurse, I'm a church leader, I'm a community developer, I am a politician, right? Generally, most people will lead with what it is that they do, and they believe that what they do is who they are. You got to understand tonight, you got to understand as I'm talking to you, you are more than an occupation. You are more than a profession. You got to distinguish who it is that you are as a person. Your identity, your self-worth cannot just specifically emanate and totally be ingrained in your socioeconomic status, your notoriety, your relationships, your social media claim. Your identity has to be framed in not what it is that you do, but who it is that you are. How do you get to that specific place? You get to that specific place when you begin to ask pertinent questions. Who am I outside of what it is that I just do on a daily basis? Right? For many of us, we got to understand this. A job is what you're paid for, but your calling and your purpose is what you're made for. Very few people ask the question, who am I? Very few people really look at their life outside of the lens of just the trauma of what it is that they have experienced. And now life looks upside down rather than right side up. Just for a minute, I want you to think about this. I want you to think about where you were born. I want you to think about your background. I want you to think about your abilities. I want you to think about even your traumatic experiences. I want you to think about your triumphs. I want you to think about all the things that have made you who it is that you are and all the things that people have said that you're not. Right? I want you to think about all that. Right? You could think about this. You have all of the ingredients to you being an individual that has shaped who it is that you are as a person today. Right? You got to understand this, that your existence is not a coincidence. You could have been born in any other century. You could have been born in a different decade. You could have been born in any other particular time. You could have been born to two totally different parents. But here's the thing, you were uniquely designed with a purpose in mind. How do I know that? Scripture says it in Jeremiah chapter 1:5. It says, before I formed you in the belly, I knew you. Before you came out of the womb, I sanctified you. I ordained you to be a prophet to the nation. So in essence, God knew you before you knew yourself. And you can only know who you are by knowing whose you are, and that is in relationship with him. Let me say that twice because it's so nice. God knew you before you knew yourself. He knows more about you than you know about yourself. Right? And only you can know who it is that you are when you know whose you are. If you're just joining me tonight, I need you to tap on in. You're just joining me tonight. We in the mix at 6. I'm empowering you to soar at 6. We're talking tonight about how to move from trauma to triumph. Moving from trauma to triumph. What you've been through does not define you. I need you to understand this tonight. What you've been through does not define you. It refines you. All my people who are triumphant tonight, I just need you just to type triumph. Triumph. Come on. Trauma will not become your trumpet. It will not make a sound whenever anybody else is around. I need you just to type triumph tonight. I'm triumphing over thoughts of suicide. I'm triumphing over low self-esteem. I'm going to triumph over mother wounds. I'm going to triumph over father wounds. I'm going to triumph over all of the deleterious thoughts about myself. I'm going to triumph in my business. I'm going to triumph in my relationships. I'm going to triumph in my mindset. I'm going to triumph that whatever I put my hands to is going to prosper. Yeah. Why do I say that? Because you need to understand this, that you have been uniquely designed with a purpose in mind. Your presence on the planet has a purpose. Why are you alive at this time? Reason you're alive at this time, because it is your time. You got to seize the moment. Let me go Latin on you. You got to carpe diem. You got to seize the moment. You got to seize the day. I told you in the last couple of weeks, I said your 2024 will boil down. The success or failure of your 2024 will hinge on how you use your 24 hours. Will I use my 24 hours thinking about how much I'm a failure? Will I use my 24 hours thinking about how much I have been hurt? Will I use my 24 hours thinking about how much I'm a victim or a perpetrator? Will I use my 24 hours thinking about all of my traumatic experiences? Or will I come up with a strategic plan to triumph? Come on now. 2024 for me marks 24 years of me being cancer free. Yeah. Chemotherapy, radiation, lost all my hair, my self-confidence, my self-esteem. My own biological father never visited me one day in the hospital. People I thought were praying for me, in many cases, were literally praying on me, sitting on the sideline expecting my demise. Cancer made me cry, but it didn't make me quit. Cancer became a traumatic experience, but I had to find out that and discover through a myriad of circumstances and trials and tribulations and all types of things that were in my mind that were telling me why I wasn't going to make it, who I was never going to become. You know, the things that we say are, what is that terminology that we use? We say imposter syndrome, right? All those things that in many cases brought about doubt in my life. I had to get to that place to where I realized that your mess is a message, your test is a testimony, your misery is ministry. Your mess is a message. Your stumbling block is a stepping stone. What God will do is he'll use your setback as a setup for your greatest comeback. He'll turn your grief into grace. He'll turn your trauma into triumph. He'll turn your tragedy into strategy. You got to understand this, that everything that you have been through can be used as a stepping stone, not a stumbling block, to be able to let somebody know that you can come out. Got to realize this. God saw a need. You became a seed. There's a thought that suggests this, that great men and women are only born for the time that they are needed the most. Let me say that again. Great men and women are only born for the time that they're needed the most. Could it possibly be that the reason you're alive right now is because you're needed the most right now? I want to talk to the people who are gifted. I want to talk to somebody who's gifted, but still has not opened up their package. I want to talk to somebody who's gifted, who has opened up their package, but they have not used the gift that is in their package. I want to talk to somebody who's teetering on whether they should start the business or not. I want to talk to somebody who's teetering on the thought of quitting and throwing in the towel and giving up and losing hope, and recognizing that you are alive right now because you're most needed right now. Your skill and your gift is needed right now. What are you doing to stir it up right now? Your witty ideas and your inventions and your career, the way that you are a critical thinker in a chaotic world is needed right now. Your idiosyncratic aspect and the way that you think about things and your level of the way that you give to other people and how you improve your community and how you build up other people and how you're such an encourager and how you're a prayer warrior and how you help people get through things that they go through, even when you're struggling and suffering in silence yourself. You are alive right now because you're needed most right now. Your existence is designed to make a difference, right? And so oftentimes we discount the fact of how significant we are. Listen, I need you to understand tonight, you are not a mistake. You are a miraculous phenomenon. That's what it moves us into. You were born at a specific time to whom you needed to be born to, when you needed to be born, where you needed to be born, with the gifts that you needed to be born with in order to do what you were created to do. So when you try to be like somebody else, now you cheat the world of you, because can't nobody beat you being you. Often imitated, never duplicated. You got to see the significance of your existence. And now, and when you see the existence of your, when you see the existence of your, when you see the existence, the significance of your existence, rather, now you have to move from existing to living with purpose, living on purpose, and living for a purpose, simply because you have a dynamic purpose. You are divinely designed with a unique purpose in mind. And you got to understand, within you is a divine deposit. Within you is a rich reservoir. Within you has something that cannot be undervalued. Within you is something that is so rich that it cannot be defined as insufficient funds. Right? I don't know if you've ever been like me, but for many years, listen, I ain't just woke up like this. I ain't woke up being able just to encourage you and encourage myself and all this other stuff. No, for many years, I was in search of who it is that I was. I was in search of who I was supposed to become. You know, especially, you know, boys becoming men. Boys to Men is more than just an R&B group. Right? Boys to Men is a shift. It's a transition. It's a transformation. It is your coming out party. It is a way that you are able to mature and you're able to develop. It is you growing through what you go through. And in many cases, when you don't have that model in your life to where you can model your life after, boys being a father, now you begin to look for that fathering, that mentorship, oftentimes in all the wrong places. A lot of times we make specific choices that now become deleterious to our destiny simply because of what we did not have. And the problem is when we continue to still play the blame game simply because of what we did not have. And now that frames who it is that we are. Because we have not healed from the vestiges of our past, the traumatic experiences, the psychological pain, the emotional incarceration, growing through what it is that we go through. Now we underestimate ourselves. We underestimate people. We now have, in many cases, we believe that people have ulterior motives when sometimes people come into our life for real reasons with good intentions. What are we doing every single day? What are you doing every single day to break through the self-limiting beliefs? Isn't it interesting that oftentimes some people see in you what you don't see in yourself? They see your greatness and you only see your worthlessness. They see your value and you only see how in many cases you just been so negative on yourself. They see that in many cases you just a little bit from the top and you feel as if, you know, you just a little bit from the bottom. Right? And now you deal with self-limiting beliefs. You deal with imposter syndrome, dealing with depression. All these factors distort the view of yourself and your personal identity. You got to understand that your identity is not in a person, it's found in your purpose. Too many times we have lost our identity simply because a relationship did not work out. We lost our identity because somebody said they didn't want to be with us. We lost our identity because we broke off something. We lost our identity because certain people who we thought were going to be in our life, in many cases now was shown the exit door. And now we turn on ourselves rather than moving into a place of transformation. Your identity is not in a person. Your identity is in your purpose. And what it's time to do for you, you got to start coming out. You got to come out of hiding and you got to start leading. You can't lead anybody else until you first lead yourself. How do I lead my emotions? How do I lead not just the trauma, the triggers of what bring up the emotions or bring up the traumatic experiences, simply because this way reminded me, and I had a deja vu moment of what it is that in many cases I should have healed from. And now I become a grown person still dealing with childhood wounds. Hear me. It takes courage to address the traumatic experiences and the traumatic issues that are in your life. I told you, I was doing a live yesterday. I said, listen, there's going to be two types of people in your life. In many cases, sometimes you're one of those two people. It's going to be either the limited thinker or it's going to be the unlimited thinker. Limited thinkers seek to stifle your growth. Unlimited thinkers want you to grow. Limited thinkers are those who want to give you constructive criticism. They ain't constructed nothing. Unlimited thinkers want to actually give you constructive criticism because they've been where you're trying to go, or they want to go with you to where you're trying to be because they're on that level and that road, moving into a place of greatness. Limited thinking now moves you into a place of limited expectations because your expectations and your experiences have not aligned. All right. Your father, your uncle, or your grandmother, your mother would have promised you, said, right, Friday I'm coming. And when you was a kid, get you some ice cream. That Friday they didn't show up. Or that Friday they had an excuse. Or that Friday they didn't come at the same time that they said that they were originally going to be. So next week they do the same thing. The week after that, they do the same thing. And little by little by little, what you expected and what you experienced did not align on the same plane. And now as you grow older, now as you have matured physically, because of all of those experiences, it lessens and it diminishes your expectation. So that now, when you come into a relationship with God, you don't expect much. You sure enough don't expect too much from people because what you have experienced did not connect to, in many cases, what you expected. And one thing that we got to do, listen, we got to change our mindset, because until we change our mindset, we'll never change what it is that we put out into the atmosphere. We'll never change into who it is that we are to become. We'll always be in the cocoon when you were created to be the butterfly. You'll always be the chicken coop, being an eagle in a chicken coop when you were created to soar on wings as an eagle beyond the stratosphere. You got to get a particular picture of your future. And in many cases, we have a clear picture of our past. We have a clear picture of what life was supposed to be for us. We have a clear picture of what it is that we really expected, but we didn't experience. But we got to change the picture. I got to get a picture of my future. I can't just have a picture of my past. I got to have a picture of my future. Dr. Sigmund Freud said this. Let me put this into your mindset. Dr. Sigmund Freud said this. He said, we are in adulthood what we have experienced in childhood. Hear me. Until we heal, our true identity can't be revealed. Those of you watching me tonight, comment. I need you to comment. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, of course. How could I forget about y'all? I need you to just comment the word identity. Just put the word identity in there. Put the word identity in the comment section tonight. Identity. We are in adulthood. We have experience in childhood, but until we heal, our true identity can't be revealed. Come on. What does that mean? That means I got to identify my identity. That means I got to speak life over my life. That means I got to actually affirm myself despite the trauma of what it is that I've been through, despite the angst, despite the animosity, despite the negativity of what it is that I have experienced. When I get a picture of my future, I speak differently about myself. When I get a picture of my future, I frame my life differently. When I get a picture of my future, my associations and my friendships change. When I get a picture of my future, I understand this, that I'm cared for. When I get a picture of my future, I understand that I'm loved. I can love myself through what people did to me. One of the greatest things and the most powerful things that you can do is to forgive people who may never give you an apology. is to love yourself through what it is, here it is, that you allowed and how you allowed people to mistreat you. When you get a picture of your future, when you begin to see yourself in a different light, now you see yourself as someone great. Now you see yourself as that king. Now you see yourself as that queen. Listen, for all that you didn't hear, it's your responsibility to speak life over your life. Let me give you an example of it. I know a number of different people, and we've done this in my academy. I've asked people to try this at home. Generally, they say, "Don't try this at home." No, I want you to try this at home. We do this in my academy. Shameless plug. If you're not a part of my academy, I want you to join the Eagles Academy. We have live sessions every single Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it is just an incredible online community designed to empower you to soar into success and purpose. How do we do that? I'm so glad you asked. Is the place, is the community where I teach, is where I coach, is where I train, is where I mentor. And I give you access to a thriving community of gifted leaders, accountability partners, people who just want to network, share ideas, business strategies. We develop innovative skills, solutions to transform your life, to experience the growth that you desire. We got hundreds of master classes that you're able to go and watch at your leisure, replay any live session. But again, specialized coaching is mentoring, is training each week in our live sessions. And then you also get exclusive access to our mentoring motivational group. That's what takes place in our Eagles Academy. I gave people just a little bit of homework. I said, I want you to try this. I want you to try this. I want you to get a baby picture. I want you to get a picture of yourself when you were younger. And I want you to put that picture of yourself. Yes, the eaglesacademy.com. I want you to get a picture of yourself. And I want you to put it on your mirror. Yeah. I want you to put that baby picture. I want you to put that younger picture of yourself. Yeah. With that high top fade, where it looked like, somebody put a bowl on your head and cut around your edges. You had you had a Timmy, right? That's the picture I want you to get. I want you to get the picture where you had, you had the locks. I don't know what styles these girls wear. I ain't got no daughters. I ain't got no sons. I tell people all the time, I'm not a father. I'm a father figure. But I just want you to get that bold picture, right? Where you didn't think you was the cat's meow or the dog's bow wow, where people called you the ugly duckling. Yeah. I want you to get it out. You know where it is. You know what's in that scrapbook. You know what's under the bed. You know what's in the garage. I want you to get it on out. Get it out. And I want you to put it on the mirror. And as you put it on the mirror, this is what I want you to do. I want you to speak to that little boy. I want you to speak to that little girl. And I want you to tell them, in that picture, the grown you speaking to the young you. I want you to tell them all the words that you wish you heard. Yeah. While it's on the mirror and you see yourself and you see a snapshot photo of your old self, your younger self, rather, I want you to speak life into that little boy. Tell him you are loved. Tell that girl you are appreciated. You are beautiful. You are successful. You are significant. You will be successful. Greatness is on the inside of you. Doors are opening for you. Favor is on your life. You're anointed for a purpose. God has great plans in store for you. A lot of times we did not hear those words when we were growing up. And because we did not hear those words, it's hard for us to verbalize those words over ourselves in our adult stage when we didn't hear it in our childhood stage. And so now we don't become knee dead, we become needy. Yeah. Simply because we want that person to be that mother. We want that person to be that father. We want that person to now pour into us because we can't even pour into ourselves because our cup has become so low. because we've been so empty. Because here it is, we have not unraveled the aspect of the unhealed trauma and the wounds of what it is that we've experienced. We got to understand is that no person is a stranger to struggle. We've been introduced to pain, not just when we were 30. You've been introduced to pain, not just when you were 40 or just when you were 50 or when you're 60. Many of us were introduced to pain at such a young age. I ain't talking about the pain of falling off a bike. I'm not talking about the pain of scarring your knee. I'm not talking about the pain of breaking your arm. I'm not talking about the pain of stubbing your toe. I'm talking about the broken promises of what people have supposedly told you that they would heal you and help you, but they wound up hurting you and harming you. I'm talking about the brokenness that you can't see the hurt from the outside in. The hurt emanates from the inside out. The hurt that distorts your trust. The hurt that makes you feel bad about yourself. The hurt to where you don't receive love, and it's hard for you to receive love. It's hard for you to give love. Right? The hurt that doesn't allow you to become who it is that you are and be what it is that you were created to be. Right? And it's easy for us to tattoo the word love, but it's hard for us to experience love. Healing from trauma, I need you to understand this, is about self-identity and self-accountability. Listen, I know they hurt you, but it's your responsibility to heal. I know they hurt you, but healing is your responsibility. You were not created to limp through life. You were created to leap. You were created to live on another level. You can't allow pain. You can't allow frustration. You can't allow struggle to distort your identity. Despite the mother wounds, despite the father wounds, despite the past hurts, despite the mistakes, despite the relationship woes, we have to take the time to process our emotions. Here it is, rather than numb ourselves to the pain. Here it is. When you put that picture of yourself on that mirror, when you see your vision clear, when you see in you what you wish somebody saw in you, this is what you do for yourself. You reparent yourself. Yeah. Some of us, we have to reparent ourselves. We have to affirm the child within that was neglected. Sometimes we have to be sometimes we have to be to ourselves what we didn't have for ourselves. Come on. Somebody just type royalty in the chat. Somebody just type royalty. I need you to type royalty to the king. I'm talking to you. There's a king inside of you, brother. There's a queen inside of you, sister. I want you to just type royalty. Your royalty demands loyalty. You can't expect nobody to be loyal to you if you're not loyal to yourself. And that's why I want to ask you, how much thought have you actually given? How much consideration have you actually given to the trauma that you've endured? Oh, I know we rejoice, we testify about how we process certain things. But here's the thing. Most people just numb themselves to trauma. They numb themselves by going to the party. They numb themselves by being a socialite. They numb themselves by smoking more weed than Snoop Dogg. They numb themselves by retail therapy and just going shopping and getting about 50 boxes of Amazon gifts right outside their door, or going to the mall, or tearing the club up. They numb themselves by spending money to block out the pain rather than to process it. Right? People numb themselves by just trying to be around everybody or using social media as a portal to portray how happy they are, because life for them is nothing but a highlight reel on the outside. But they don't want to feel anything real on the inside. And so here's what we do. Because we have unprocessed emotions, because we have unhealed trauma, because of the emotional incarceration, the psychological pain that has not been dealt with, We now live an inauthentic life. Come on now. We live an inauthentic life, lack of genuine. None of us are perfect, but you can at least be genuine. We live an inauthentic life due to the feeling, due to the personal knowledge that we have not become and the personal awareness that we have not stepped into to be what we have been called to be. Hear me. Unhealed trauma will keep you presently living in the past. Unhealed trauma begets traumatic relationships. Unhealed trauma leads to a lack of authenticity interpersonally. Unhealed trauma moves us into a place of trauma bonding, connecting to people, connecting with people, being in relationships with people who express that level of traumatic experiences that in many cases you adapt to and you connect to simply because you have not disconnected from. As a consequence, here, I need you to understand this tonight. I need you to hear me tonight. As a consequence, when we have unhealed trauma, here's what we do. We bleed on people who didn't even cut us. I'm talking better than y'all typing back to me tonight. Unhealed trauma leads to you bleeding on people who didn't even cut you. As you've heard before, hurting people hurt people, but only heal people heal people. Unhealed trauma will cause us to cut ourselves with stinking thinking. We cut ourselves with limited beliefs. We cut ourselves with words of self-doubt. We cut ourselves in the place of destructive behavior. When we have unhealed trauma, we pair bond with people who reflect our pain. Tonight is the night. I just need you just to type in the chat, break the cycle. Break the cycle. Tonight is the night to break the cycle. We got to break the cycle of toxicity. We got to break the cycle to break the generational curses. We got to break the cycle to break the traumatic wounds. We got to break the cycle so that our children can break free into who it is that they can become when they overcome. When we have unhealed trauma, we now become a magnet for the wrong one because of all the things that are wrong with us that we did not heal with, we did not heal from, and we did not heal from within. Too often we remain in relationships that are no good to us. Why do we do that? Because they're familiar to us. Those familiar spirits create a fragmented future for our life. And here's what it's time to do. It's time to become familiar with your future and become unfamiliar with your past. What the scriptures say, old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. I'm pressing toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. Dr. Joy DeGroy, and I got more truth than I got time tonight. Dr. Joy DeGroy in her book, and if you just tune in, this is what we do at 6 every single day. It's you in the mix at 6. You in the mix at 6. I'm giving you strategies to soar at 6. Dr. Joy DeGroy in her book, Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, she shares about the wounds that we carry in our DNA. Those wounds come from our ancestors. Those wounds are due to the subjugation of our race. Those wounds come from the abuse. It comes from the neglect, primarily what we have experienced. Because oftentimes, if you are a melanated brother or sister like me, oftentimes in these divided states of America, your skin is a sin. And so Dr. Joy DeGroy unearths the painful experiences and the hurt that manifest, not only manifests, but it metastasizes in our relationships with others. But it first begins in the relationship with ourselves. You can never become the right one for anybody else. Hear me. Until you become right for yourself. Becoming the right one for the right one first begins with you being right with yourself and being right for yourself. Do you enjoy your own company? Can you stand to be alone and not lonely? Right? Can you take yourself out on a date to dinner and not feel negative and not feel as if, all eyes on you like Tupac? and I feel so disenchanted. But you're actually taking some time with you, because here's the thing. The person that you will be with the most in your life is you. You take you everywhere you go. It ain't your spouse in your house. It ain't your friends. It ain't your mama and them. It ain't your daddy, ain't your grandfather, ain't your grandmother. It ain't none of that. The person who you will be with the most in your life is you. And sometimes we can't even love the skin that we're in, because all we see through and for and about ourselves is a traumatic experience. So what does that mean? That what I have to do? I got to do the work to uproot the abscess in my spirit. I'll never walk faithfully and fully in my calling until I walk into the truth of myself. And the truth about yourself is not that you were abused, you were molested, you were hurt, you were abandoned, you were divorced. All these other labels that are on your life that have become a liability. The truth about yourself is that things don't define you, they refine you. Oh, come on. The divorce didn't define you. Do I got some people who rocking with me tonight? The divorce didn't define you. The job misplacement didn't define you. The furlough didn't define you. Being unemployed didn't define you. Losing your home didn't define you. Your car being repossessed didn't define you. People walking out on you didn't define you. People not just smiling in your face, but all the time they want to take your place. Not only are they backstabbers, but they stabbed you in the face and in the back. That does not define you. It refines you. Why? Because no weapon formed against you. Y'all don't know that. Y'all acting like y'all don't know it up in here. When I fully know the truth about who it is that I am and whose I am, I don't settle living a life of trauma. Right? Because when I discover the truth, not about what he said or she said, I discover the truth about what God said about me. Let God be true. Let every man be a liar. John 8:32 says, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Until you step into the truth to heal the boy. Well, I ain't no boy no more. I know. You physically, you're a grown man, but you still got some little boy tendencies. Physically, you're a grown woman, but you still got some little girl tendencies. Until you heal the boy or the girl that is internal, the grown you will always be a shell of yourself, because you're not truly your authentic self. How do I know you're not your authentic self? Because a lot of times we smiling on the outside, crying on the inside. A lot of times we telling folks, yeah, I'm blessed and I'm highly favored, but you feeling low to the flow. A lot of times you surrounded by a whole group of people, but you still feel alone. A lot of times you went out, had a wonderful meal, but you stay to where your stomach is full, but you still feel empty. I don't know if you ever been there, right? And a lot of times what we are dealing with, as I talked about post-traumatic slave syndrome, as what Dr. Joy DeGroy declared, we are also experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah, the mental health condition that's triggered by a terrifying event. We can see PTSD all around the world. Dilapidated neighborhoods, cities that are food deserts, poor school system, racism and crime and violence and abuse, heartbreak from relationships. It keeps you in that particular abscess. It keeps you in that particular cycle of destruction. Rachel G, you rocking with me? Make sure y'all connect with RG for sure. All right, it's enough to keep you in a cycle of destruction. What truth have you discovered about yourself despite your experiences? Brother Billy Miller, yes. Cassandra, yes. Kenya, Dawn. Right? As I said before, remember what you've been through. It don't define you. It refines you. We can never be in alignment with our assignment if we're remaining in alignment with our trauma. If we're remaining in alignment with the places of what it is, how we have not discovered wisdom from our wounds. Let me just give you a few ways tonight to where you can move from trauma to triumph. As I said before, I got more content than I have time tonight. Let me give you just a few strategies on how to overcome the trauma and the triggers that are in your life, to really process your emotions and to move into a place of greatness that is on the inside of you. I remember, let me get into the story. I remember I was just in Kroger a little while ago, and I'm standing in line to purchase some of my groceries, and I recognize over my shoulder. Just look over your shoulders, honey. That's what I had a little Jackson 5 moment. I'll be there. But I'm looking over my shoulder, and I see this little boy and his mama. And turn around, looking at some of the people who were behind me. And the line was kind of long. I'm like, let me hurry up and get through here because I need to hurry up and get out. And all of a sudden, I hear this loud noise. Is a now loud noise. Some could tell somebody dropped some groceries. A loud shriek, as well. It was just deafening silence in Kroger. And all of a sudden, this kid, you could see he had dropped some Campbell soup cans. He drops the cans, and he's bending down to pick it up, and he's looking up at his mama real sheepishly, almost embarrassed, looking around like everybody's all eyes on him. And he says something that, I thought was rather astounding. He's looking up at his mom, and his mama's looking down at him before she ever says anything to him, because you could tell she's about to, why are you embarrassing me, boy? He looks up at her and he says, it's what's inside that counts. And I'm walking out the store. I'm kind of laughing to myself because I'm like, the boy didn't even realize that he said something really, really profound. Because here's the thing. A lot of people have dropped us. A lot of people have seemingly damaged us. And the drop was not private. The drop was public. People heard it. People saw it. People witnessed it. And you felt it. And now we believe that we're damaged simply because of what took place on the outside. But you got to recognize this, that you don't lose your value simply because of what happened to you. If I were to give you $100 bill and I were to rip it up, somebody would say, listen, I'll take that. I still got some tape. If I were to ball it up and throw it in the street and let a car run over it, somebody said, go grab me that money. Right? Don't matter what has happened to it, it still has value. They dropped you, but you got to get back up again. Why? Because it's what's inside of you that counts. Your mind counts. Your heart counts. Your soul and your goal counts. The purpose that's on the inside of you and the value that you have that's on the inside of you, that you can't allow people to diminish you. You got to look up and tell people, even when they're looking down on you, tell them, listen, this is what's inside that counts. Out of the mouths of babes. Right? And so here's just a few strategies that we got to get that I think is necessary and needed. Overcoming the trauma and the triggers that are in our life. And maybe I might do a part 2 on this. We'll see. We'll see. But one is that we got to have self-awareness. For all my stenographers, for all of my note takers, I want you to write that down. Self-awareness. If I'm going to turn my trauma into triumph, I got one aspect is that I got to have some self-awareness. How do I practice self-awareness? Self-awareness is the awareness of how you feel. Rather than ignoring it, now you got to address it. You can't fight what you refuse to face. You can't address what you won't confess. You can't heal from what you won't deal with. Right? When you start to feel a trigger, When you start to feel a trigger response, don't ignore it, name it. Right? So whether it's in a relationship or whether it's in a business deal, whatever the case may be, whenever you are feeling something that is affecting you or throwing you off, you can't just ignore it. You got to name it. Is the trigger external? Is the trigger internal? What is happening in your body? You know, we put on the movie 8 Mile. Palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. It's vomit on his sweater, mom's spaghetti. Right? What is it that I'm feeling? What is happening in my body? What is going on in my mind? How is it affecting you emotionally? Right? A lot of times we say, listen, I ain't catching no feelings. I'm just going to catch flights. No, you can't ignore those feelings because here it is. You are not a human doing. You are a human being. Self-awareness is key. Self-awareness says this: I'm emotionally intelligent. I'm not just talking about the intelligence that you can quantify by just getting grades, kindergarten, elementary, middle school, high school, college, graduate degree, master's, MBA in business, whatever the case may be. Self-awareness moves you into a place of emotional and relational intelligence, right? Because here's the thing. All of us are adults until it's time to actually address the wounds that it is that we have, and then even be expressive and communicate to a counselor, to a therapist, right? And we can't see counseling and therapy as taboo. No, it's for me and you. In the multitude of counselors, there is safety. Secondly, we got to practice mindfulness. We got to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is tied to the previous point that I made about self-awareness, and it's focusing on bringing your mind into the present. Why do I have to bring my mind into the present? Simply because what triggers do, what trauma does, triggers and trauma jettison us back into the past. We don't become like the Jetsons that move into the future. No. We back to the future. Going back to the past. Triggers jettison us into the past. So we have to be able to reorient ourselves to live in the current moment. Right? That's critical to pulling ourselves from reliving a traumatic experience to saying, all right, just because it was this way does not mean it's going to remain this way. I'm going to be mindful about what it is that I'm experiencing. This is what I'm experiencing. This is what I'm feeling. I am more than what I have experienced. I am more than this traumatic experience. I am more than this trigger that is trying to push me back into where it is that I had already grown out of and what I have healed from. Right? So we got to understand that this is not just another iteration of trauma. It's not a new source of trauma. No. I got to calm myself in the midst of the storm. That's why emotional intelligence is so key. It's so important because too many times we know how to go from 0 to 100 real quick. And I ain't talking about a rap song. I'm talking about our emotions. We fly off the handle. We say things out of an erratic emotional response. And like I've said before, it's nothing wrong with having emotions. The thing that is wrong is when emotions control your life. Nothing wrong with having emotions. Oftentimes, emotions that are not regulated, emotions become bad leaders. So I got to practice mindfulness about this. I remember watching Family Matters back in the day. They don't make them shows no more. But Steve Urkel, y'all know he would get on Carl Winslow's nerves. And Carl's blood pressure kept going up. Simply because whenever Steve would come around, Steve always knew how to get under his skin. And here's the thing. Too many times people are treating us like an elevator. They know what buttons to push to get a reaction. You are not an elevator. Stop allowing people to push your buttons. And this is what I guess Carl Winslow was practicing some mindfulness because his counselor or his therapist told me, say, whenever Steve come around, find a way to calm your nerves. And what he would say, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3. What in the heck is bothering me? Right? So he's identifying the person, the place, or the thing, the noun that he's around. He's addressing it. And now he's saying, all right, I'm going to regulate my emotions as a result of it. Stop allowing people to push your buttons. You are not an elevator. And here it is. If they push a button at all, it ought to take you to the top rather than bring you low to the flow. Last but not least, I need to put a bow on this. I need to wrap it up. Last but not least, though, hope you've gotten something from this. I try to end at around 7. I'm overtime. I'm going into OT right now. But I want to give you one more. I told you, number one, self-awareness. We're dealing with managing trauma, with managing triggers. Secondly, practicing mindfulness, self-awareness, practicing mindfulness. Last but not least, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. Hear me. Nobody gets over trauma episodically. You can be delivered from a relationship from the hand of an abuser, verbal, physical, otherwise, but healing takes time. Yeah. Too many times, hear me. We can be delivered, but not healed. Healing is not episodic. Healing is a process. And that's why you got to give yourself some grace. Got to give yourself some grace. D. Vernon, you said, have I authored a book on this topic? Yes, it is called, the book is called Identity. Keys to Discover Your Uniqueness and Unlock Your Greatness is available on Amazon. You can also get a copy of the book, a signed copy rather, at EddieConnor.com/shop. But you got to give yourself some grace. What do I mean by giving yourself some grace? Giving yourself some grace is about being kind to yourself. It's about being gentle with yourself. You got to run your race at your pace under the guise of God's grace. Let me say that again. You got to run your race at your pace under the guise of God's grace. Your race ain't nobody else's race. Their race isn't yours. In many cases, they couldn't even run your race because too many people see the glory, but they don't understand the story. They couldn't walk, talk about a mile in your shoes. They couldn't walk 6 feet in them. Right? And so you got to be gentle with yourself. You got to give yourself some grace. You got to be kind to yourself as you move to a process and through a process of healing. You got to pay attention to what you need. You got to pay attention to what helps alleviate your stress positively. Another thing you got to do, you got to prioritize some self-care in the midst of this. If you are a workaholic like me, a lot of times we try to work through what we go through rather than taking the time to mute the noise around us to hear the voice within us. Because here's the thing, silence can become so loud. But when you take the time to prioritize self-care, when you take the time to prioritize yourself and understand you're not a human doing, you're a human being. When you put you on your schedule, that says I'm purposefully prioritizing my time to process my thoughts. Can you put you on your schedule? I know you got a litany. I know you got a list of your to-do list, things that you need to check off. You checking them off like a Nike sign. I get it. But you still put your head on that pillow at night, soaking that pillow with your tears, feeling like a shell of yourself, feeling robotic, feeling as if your life is on autopilot. Simply because you have not taken the time to pause, to pray, to ponder, to process. Any other P's? I'm pushing P. right? To purposefully prioritize your time to process what it is that you have gone through. And when you're able to do that, it now gives you grace to run your race at your pace under the guise of what God has inspired in your life, to live through dying places, but also to grow through what it is that you go through. I hope you got something from this tonight. Hope you got something from this tonight. I didn't get all of it in tonight. I got more time than I have more content than I have time. I got more truth than I got time. But I hope I was able to give you some framework to really focus for your future. Listen, I thank y'all for joining me tonight. But before I go, know that there is more in store in 2024 to empower you to soar. I like that. There's more in store to empower you to soar in 2024. All right. So with that being said, I'm coming each and every single day, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You in the mix at 6 with yours truly, Dr. Eddie. And we empower you to soar at 6. Strategies, structure, solutions, resources to make your life work, to make 2024 your best year yet. And because of it, I want to give you a free gift. I want to give you a free gift. I know it may not be your birthday. it Christmas done passed. But here's a gift to you. I don't need a holiday to give you a gift. I want you to go to theeaglesacademy.com/store and have a free ebook for you. It is called More in 2024. And what I'm doing is the subtitle is how to become more in 2024 and make it your best year. Yeah. How to become more in 2024 and make it your best year. Go download the free ebook. Go download it. If you got anything from tonight, trust me, you're going to get a whole lot from the ebook. That is theeaglesacademy.com/store. Theeaglesacademy.com/store. Let's just rectify that on the lower thirds. Theeaglesacademy.com/store. And while you're there, you got to join me in my Eagles Academy. I want you to be there for our amazing session coming up this Wednesday. I've already been working on it. It's going to be too lit to quit. Go to theeaglesacademy.com/store. Scroll down a little bit. You'll see the Eagles Academy membership. I mentioned a little bit about the Eagles Academy tonight, but it's a place where I mentor, I coach, I teach, I train. If you're liking all the content that I'm giving you that's free on YouTube, trust me, I go to a whole nother level when I'm in my academy session. Here's what I'm going to do. I got the hookup. Holla if you hear me. Dose of Lonnie, you said I can attest that the ebook was very encouraging. Listen, that means a lot. That means a lot. Those types of references, those types of that type of feedback means a lot. Thank you so much. So yeah, theeaglesacademy.com/store. Go download the free ebook. I've got some other resources for you. I've written 16 books, one of which I talked about and mentioned a little bit tonight, called Identity: Keys to Discover Your Uniqueness, Unlock Your Greatness. That's available on Amazon. You can also get a signed copy on my website, EddieConnor.com/shop. Got another book, The Mask of Masculinity, for every man and the women who love us, how men can reclaim their identity, lead in love with vulnerability. But I want to show you how to write your book. That's good that I did my books. But I want to show you how to take your manuscript to the marketplace, empower the world with your words, and increase your sales. So what I've done is I've created a whole strategic layout of what I do to make my book work for me and to saturate the book industry, to put in the hands of readers who know me, who may not know me, and really just empower people with my content and my words, and to share my story. So I want you to go ahead. You can get that, as well as I got a 4.5-hour training on how to become an effective communicator, become more of an effective speaker. It's called Successful Speaker Strategies. This is what I'm doing for the books. Well, I should say for the book bestseller book blueprint. Yeah, say that about 10 times. Bestseller book blueprint for the Successful Speaker Strategies, as well as for my amazing Eagles Academy. This is what I'm going to do. Everybody who is watching me under the sound of my voice, if you put in the word SOAR at checkout, SOAR, I'm giving you 40% off on any of those resources. Yeah. You got to take advantage of it real quickly right now. Go right there. theeaglesacademy.com/store. Download all of my resources that are there. And I'm giving you 40% off when you put in the word SOAR, SOAR, at checkout. That's good. Yeah, I know. Thank me later. Thank me later. All right, that's what I'm doing. I see some of you all are taking advantage of it right now. I'm getting little notifications. But I appreciate you. Facebook family for rocking with me. Instagram, YouTube. I appreciate you. Listen, if you're not connected to my YouTube, if you're not following me on YouTube, if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, what are you doing? I need you to go right now. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Eddie Connor. Just put my name in, Eddie Connor, CONNOR. No E's or S's in my last name. Put some respect on my name. So go there, like, comment, share, subscribe. You know somebody can benefit from this message. You know there's some people who need to turn trauma into triumph. You know maybe even you need to go back and replay it and rewatch it. So nice you watched it twice. Bless somebody and bless yourself in the process. I'm sticking and staying with y'all. Join me again tomorrow in the mix at 6. Powering you to soar 6 right here. Join the Eagles Academy. You see I'm rocking it. I guarantee you, if you spread your wings, you'll win over and over again. Peace and love.